Well, good evening, everyone. It is 7:15 on November 23rd. My name is Deanne Shaw, and this is a committee of the whole meeting of the Aberdeen City Council. We'll start with a roll call, please.
Okay. Andrews.
Here.
Ellis.
Here.
Francie.
Here.
Oh, Gordon.
Here.
Kochman.
Here.
Mackey.
Here.
Meskis.
Present.
Rich Rod.
Barely here.
Ross.
Here.
Shaw.
Here.
Short.
Here.
Taylor. And Shave.
Here.
Thank you.
Everybody's doing something.
So just a reminder, everyone, if you're not speaking, keep your mic on mute. And as we continue, we do have a guest speaker tonight, representatives from the Quinault Nation. And I'm not sure who to ask, but I think our clerk knows who to call up for the presentation.
I did not receive anything on this. So if there's someone here in our attendees that's here to present, if you could raise your hand and then I can switch you over to a panelist.
And I will just confess that I know that we've had an interest to hear from the Quinaults, but I did not ask for this to be on the agenda either. So if there's been a miscommunication, please, everyone, give everybody some grace because it's been crazy times out there. So if there's no one raising their hand, is there
I'm
anyone
not
else?
seeing.
Okay.
No.
So I'm not sure how that got on there, but it's fine. I was not exactly expecting it myself either. I just trying to go with the flow. So next we'll call on our department heads under item C. First we'll go with our
Really quick, one thing.
yes.
I was just gonna ask, just in case they were thinking the meeting is tomorrow, could somebody reach out to them and just make sure that they know that our meeting was tonight and not tomorrow?
Oh, that's a really good point. Thank you. And of course, if that is where the miscommunication occurred, we will do everything we can to make sure and get them on as soon as possible. I don't know if you've driven down State Street or downtown lately, but there's a lot of work going on downtown that is I'm anxious to hear about. So good point. So our first director is Lisa Scott. Thank you.
Thank you. Good evening, Council. I really don't have much to report. We're just winding down with the budget and anxious to see where the feedback is from Council. And we continue to be busy processing permits. And we are continuing work with the comp plan. And we hope to have a draft out to you very shortly and bring that forward for approval as we move forward at the first part of December. So thank you very much. And I just wanted to wish everybody a happy and a healthy Thanksgiving.
Thank you. Our next director is our Corporation Counsel, Jeff Myers. Is he on the call tonight? I don't see him. Actually, it's probably a good thing when our attorney doesn't feel like he needs to talk to us. But I do see Judge Solon. Judge Solon, do you have anything for us tonight?
Good evening. I haven't seen the agenda, but it was my understanding that the appointment for the judge was on for today. Is that not true?
Mayor? You're muted. There you go.
What was that now? I'm sorry. What was that, Susan?
So when we last spoke about the new term for the judge, that was going to be put on the the agenda for today. I haven't seen the agenda. I just put that on my calendar that I needed to be present. So,
I was thinking that was on the December 8th agenda.
okay. Like I said, I haven't seen the agenda, but when we talked about it
I'm
at
sorry.
our budget meeting, we discussed this date. So that's okay. I wasn't sure because I hadn't seen the agenda.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, no problem.
Yeah, I thought that was scheduled for December 8th.
Okay, so December 8th, it'll be on the agenda.
Yeah.
Well, Judge, it's great to see you. As you know, we have an extensive and lengthy process, and we'll need your resume and all this other stuff, and maybe we'll look forward to interviewing you at the next meeting.
Okay, great. Looking forward to it. Thank you. Well, everyone have a happy Thanksgiving then.
All right, thank you.
Uh-huh.
Next is our Finance Director, Patricia Soul.
Thank you. Finance Committee met at 6 p.m. and I will ask Chairperson Koshman to provide the comments for the Finance Department. Thank you.
Okay. Next is Fire Chief Hubbard.
Good evening, Tom Hubbard, Aberdeen Fire Chief. Public Safety met at 6:30 tonight, and I will defer comments to Council Person and Public Safety Chair Tani Andrews.
Thank you. Our Mayor, do you have anything to share about human resources?
About what subject?
Human resources.
Oh, we're operating with the 45-day temp right now, and she's doing a really good job for stepping in here and taking things over so quickly. She's I don't know how she does it. She's pretty swamped, but she's getting everything in order. And I asked her yesterday to focus on where we're at with all the hiring positions that are out and where they're at, so that we can sit down and recap where we're at with that, and where everything's been sent, which agencies are advertising our positions, that sort of thing. So I think there was a couple of items left undone when the previous HR director left. We're getting that squared away. So she's really busy and doing well.
Thank you. Is there any news to report on the posting or how that's going along?
The posting for HR?
Right. Have we started looking for one?
Last I heard, there were 4 applications for HR director. So as soon as that closes, we're going to decide who we're going to interview and get at it as quickly as possible. Hopefully by the end of the year, we'll have a new HR director.
Thank you. Our Parks Director, Stacy Barnum.
Thank you. I'm going to share my screen. So projects that we're working on right now, Bob Droll, who we hired to do the RV park design, he's still working on the first draft. We recently received the updated wetlands delineation report that he needed for the wetlands buffer. I did include in my budget request for next year funding to do the Stewart's Park Trail Bridge repair. The lodging tax grant applications, we received requests totaling $77,500. The committee will meet on November 30th. And on my next slide, I'll have meeting information. We have budgeted, I think it was $65,000 to give out for 2022. We did have 2 events this year that did not happen, and so we did see some cost savings. So there may be some additional funds available to fund the requests that we received this year. And then an upcoming request, I've been updating you on the Wilson Creek Bridge, which is the bridge as you come into Morrison Riverfront Park. The ground is failing, and we need to have some design analysis done and some options for what we can do. I don't think we have any choice but to put some type of pedestrian bridge there. Currently, anyone who's trying to enter Morrison Park from the west, who's a pedestrian, is walking in the roadway with vehicles, and that is dangerous. So the cost estimate I got for their alternatives analysis is $30,000. There, I do not have money in my budget to pay for that. So I will be bringing a committee report to the council. Here's the information on the lodging tax committee. It's also on the city's website for anyone who would like to attend. It's Tuesday, November 30th, which is next week at 6 p.m. We'll be doing the meeting via Zoom. And that's when the lodging tax committee meets, reviews the applications, and we hear presentations from our applicants. The Samban Park remodel, I know I've shown you some pictures before. The staff now has the black fencing up. So on the left, you can see where the bell was sitting on the side of the road. I always felt like it fell out of the back of a truck and just landed there. The bell now has a home on a plaza, thanks to the Public Works Department and the Parks Department staff. It looks really nice. There was an anonymous donor that paid for a memorial bench, and there is a tree planted in memory of Dave Sullivan, who was a volunteer in our Babe Ruth program for many years. So if you haven't had a chance, I know I mentioned it before, take a drive through Samban Park. That area looks really nice. Usually the costume contest winners from our Spooktacular get to come to a city council meeting to receive their award from the mayor. But obviously we're not having in-person meetings. And so I wanted to share the winners for this year's costume contest. We had best overall costume, scariest costume, cutest costume, and most original. We had a line of kids that came, and we appreciate Rick Moyer from Moyer Multimedia. He took all the photos and set it up so that all the photos would be available online for anyone who brought their child in to participate. So the Spooktacular was another success, and I just wanted to give the kids credit of the ones who won at our costume contest. And that's it. Thank you.
Does anyone have questions for Director Barnum? So I see a question from T.S. Ameskis.
Thank you. It's not actually a question. I would just like to encourage any council members and future council members that have not actually participated in an LTAC meeting to actually go and see what's going on. So you can really understand the process and what these people are applying for and what things are going on, and get a better understanding of what you're actually voting on when you approve these funds. It's very educational, and it can really help you to understand another part of what we're doing. So that's all.
Very well said.
Councilmember Ellis.
Thank you. Director Barnum, the city gets, or maybe we need to apply for trails monies that I think come from the gas tax.
We have, yes, we receive funds from the gas tax. That account currently has $19,000 in it. And some of that money is budgeted next year to be spent on the first step in the repairs to the Stewart's Park Trail Bridge. My plan in 2022 is to apply for a large grant from the Washington State RCO in the trails category. So next year, 2022 is the year that the trails category is open for application.
Oh, that's excellent. Thank you for doing that and for helping us to stay within our budget.
I'm trying. Thank you.
Any other council members for Director Barnum? Well, I would just echo Councilmember Meska's comments. I've been to a couple of those meetings and they're very informative. And while the money that we award is a tiny percentage of the millions that we're in charge of, it's huge to the people who apply. And it's very, very, and it's just very informative on how some of the things work on what we do. But the other thing I was wondering, Director Barnum, just for those who might not know, could you share with us again the history of the bell? Where did the bell come from?
Oh, darn it. It has something to do with the fire department. I don't know exactly why it was placed there. There is an inscription on the bell. Let me see if I have it in my city art inventory. Let's see. It came from Samban, the M.C. Shane Bell Foundry Company in Baltimore, Maryland. And if I remember right, there's a few names inscribed on the bell. They include some fire department employees and I think a mayor. But I can certainly verify that information because I did take a photo of it and I can share that out.
Okay. Well, I was just curious. I know the bell's come up a couple times and not everybody instantly knows everything that's, at Samban Park. So yeah, it sounds to me like it was the bell that told when there was a fire and we all came running, right?
I think so. Thank you.
Thank you. Our next director is our
It looks like John Mackey had his hand up.
Oh, Councilmember Mackey, thank you. Sorry. I can always count on Councilmember Meska to keep me in line.
Yeah, I was just wanted to mention that I have a photograph of that bell from 1924 that has my grandfather standing or sitting in front of it on a 1924 Harley Davidson. And I thought I might copy that and share that. It's a really interesting picture.
That would be wonderful. I would love a copy of that.
The trees that are there now were just saplings at that time.
Oh, that's fantastic. I'm glad I asked the question.
I will share that photograph.
Great. Anyone else? Thanks, everybody. Next is Police Chief Steve Shumate.
Well, Steve Shumate is not here this evening. He asked me to attend. He asked me to attend a public safety meeting, which I did. I will refer all comments and information to Councilperson Tony Andrews.
Thank you. And for those listening in who might not know, that is our Deputy Chief, Jay State. Get in here. Anyone have any questions? Seeing none. Next is our Public Works Director, Rick Sanger.
Good evening. Public Works met tonight at 4 o'clock, actually about 4:25 because I was a little late. But anyway, we met tonight and we have a short agenda. I'll leave it to our chair, Meskas. And if there's any questions, as always, I'm available to answer them.
Anyone have questions for our Public Works Director? Seeing none. Next,
thank you.
Thank you. Next, we move on to the mayor's report. What do you have for us tonight, Mayor Shave?
Well, I'd just like to say welcome everybody and happy Thanksgiving. Great time of year. It's always a lot of festive stuff going on. I hope everybody's finding something to really enlighten your days and have some fun. As you've all probably heard, we have a cold weather shelter open now at 100 South K Street. It's open from 7 p.m. to 7 a.m. And there's another one in the process of opening. The only other thing I wanted to mention, another little piece of history. In early 2019, there was an accident in front of the library that took out the street light, flagpole, and a bench. And the bench was dedicated to the late Bob Bossage. And I wonder whatever happened to that bench, or if anybody knows anything about it, but it's disappeared. I don't know what kind of damage it got from that, but I thought, what the heck, I'll mention it tonight when everybody's here and all the staff, and maybe somebody knows about it. I know Jay probably don't know about it. He wasn't here, or maybe you were. Were you here, Jay?
No, Mayor, I wasn't. But what I can do is I can look that collision up, see if I can find out parties involved in that, and see if I can come up with, if there was an insurance claim possibly paid out on that or something, and or obviously if we had some city damage. I'm assuming that there was a collision report done. So I can check on that and get back to you.
Oh, that's great. Yeah, the city replaced the flagpole and the street light, but the bench disappeared. So yeah, that'd be great if you could find out what you know about it.
Yes, I'll be in.
Okay.
I'll be in tomorrow, and I'll see what I can come up with for information on that for you.
Okay. And that's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor. Next, we'll move on to our non-standing committee reports. And this is a time when each council member shares what they've been up to since we last met that might not necessarily be on the agenda, but is part of our job to represent the council on different committees and stuff. And first I'll ask Councilmember Andrews.
Well, last Thursday prior to our budget meeting, or well, actually you guys probably started, I was a little late because I was at the Council of Governments. That's a great organization, and we spent some time reminiscing about the Ocean Shores mayor who left us too soon very recently. But other than that, that's all I have to report.
Thank you. Councilmember Ellis.
Thank you. I've been busy answering constituent requests, and also met with the mayor and other members of the homeless committee ad hoc committee.
Thank you. Councilmember Francie.
I was able to attend the comprehensive land use plan meeting and 2 of the budget meetings, even though I was a little late to one. Sorry about that. And I cleaned up cut the compass rose a couple of days ago. And that's about it.
Okay, Councilmember Gordon.
Yeah, evening, everybody. Last week we had a pretty productive meeting on the Chehalis Basin Board, and there's been a lot of engineering studies on whether we still do the dam or there's other ways to stop flooding and that. And then there was a complete financial breakdown to make sure all the dollars are being spent properly, because on jobs like that's been going on for 20 years. Sometimes money kind of slides away here and there, but it was a very productive meeting. And I think first of the year, maybe by spring, there's going to be some answers for us on what we're going to do on the next step on the Chehalis. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilmember Cashman.
Yeah, well, it's a busy time of year and I've been to a lot of meetings, but I don't think I've been to any meetings that anyone hasn't already mentioned. So I will hold my comments.
Thank you. Councilmember Mackey.
Yes, I'd like to recognize Joshua Francie for his cleanups in my ward, and I really do appreciate those. They are very nice that he's doing that. Thank you, Joshua.
You're welcome.
Councilmember Meskis.
Thank you very much. And yes, definitely huge thanks to the work that Councilmember Francie has done for many, many, many years, helping to keep our community clean. I think that's amazing. And hopefully, you know, some people can come out and help out, because you know, there's a lot more that can be done. As for meetings, I did attend the ad hoc committee on the homeless situation, and, you know, continuing to try and come up with meaningful solutions to that. And I've also been reaching out to our department heads to meet with them and talk about our budget and make sure that, you know, what we pass and what we talk about can be done in a educated and meaningful way. There's a few more that I got to talk to, so I'm hoping to do that before the third reading. But I'm almost all the way through. So I would encourage the rest of my council members, if you haven't reached out to our department heads, you know, please, you know, talk to them, express any of your concerns, ask them questions, because that's how we do our job. So thank you.
Thank you. Councilmember Richrod.
Well, I went to the budget meetings and the comp plan meetings with everyone else, and that's really about all I have to report on, except I wanted to mention it's very sad, the passing of Doc Carter, who was a fine English teacher and inspired a lot of students, and he lives on through them. So I just wanted to mention that.
Thank you. You're right. Doc Carter was definitely had an impact on our students and our community. So thank you. Councilmember Ross.
I missed the Downtown Aberdeen Association meeting held this week, but I know that Bobby and Betty have been working really hard with their committee on Winterfest that's coming up on December 4th. So I wanted to remind everybody about that event, and you can check them out on Facebook. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilmember Short.
Nothing this evening. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilmember Taylor, did he join us yet? Nope. I don't see that he's here. And so that's I think the end of our council reports. Yep. So that ends our non-standing committee reports. And unless council members have anything else they want to share, that concludes the committee of the whole. Anyone? Okay, we are adjourned, and I'll turn the meeting over to the mayor.
Thank you. This is Mayor Shave, and it's Tuesday, November 23rd, 2021 at 7:44 p.m. And I call the Aberdeen City Council meeting to order. Public comments and public hearing comments are included during the Zoom video meetings. The public was notified that if they wish to speak during the meeting, an email be sent to the city clerk at aberdeenwa.gov and indicate if they would like to speak or have the clerk read the comment. If they desire to comment live, they will be called on during the meeting and allowed to speak for 3 minutes. Written comments provided before the meeting have been provided to the city council members and will be read into the record up to the current 3-minute time limit. Deputy City Clerk, will you please take a roll call?
Yes, thank you. Andrews?
Here.
Ellis?
Here.
Francie?
Here.
Gordon?
Here.
Kochman?
Here.
Mackey?
Here.
Thank you. Meskis?
Present.
Richrod?
Here.
Ross?
Here.
Yeah, thank you. Shaw?
Here.
Short?
Here.
Taylor? Shave?
Here.
Thank you.
Next item on the agenda is the approval of the minutes of the previous meeting.
Mayor Shave, I move we approve the minutes of the previous meeting.
Second.
Motion was made and seconded to approve the minutes of the previous meeting. Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor say aye.
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 Any opposed? Motion carries.
Mayor Shave,
Yes, Council.
I would like to make a motion to excuse Councilperson Taylor from the meeting tonight.
Second.
Motion was made and seconded to excuse Councilmember Taylor. Is there any discussion? Under discussion, Councilmember Meskis.
Thank you very much. Did Councilmember Taylor contact anybody on council to say why he's not here?
So I'll just share with the council that it has been our practice, and it's pretty much, been adopted, is that if a council member can't make it with their absence, if they've contacted me in advance, I will happily excuse them. We all have things that come up, but absent contact, we just let it pass tonight, and I will reach out to the council member, and we'll probably be able to excuse council member Taylor at the next meeting. But it's a council member, but that doesn't mean we can't excuse him without any information. Tonight it's the will of the council, but our practice is absent any word, we just let it pass, and I reach out to the council member and it comes up at the next meeting.
Thank you. Councilmember Andrews, did you have a comment?
No, yes, I covered it.
Thank you. Councilmember Meskis.
Thank you very much. Given what Council President Shaw just said, I would move that we table the motion until the next meeting and cover it then.
Was there a
Second.
second? Okay, motion was made second that the excusing Councilmember Taylor be tabled until the next meeting. Any discussion, Councilmember Catchman?
I think it's fair to give somebody the benefit of the doubt and, call them after the meeting and let them know that, hey, it's standard practice to call in the event of an absence. I just think we live in a world where we can give somebody the benefit of the doubt.
Well, I would think it's got something to do with this being Tuesday.
Yeah.
Councilmember Shaw.
I don't disagree. I like to live in a world of grace, and I was just trying to follow the very expressed, wishes of the council on what the council president does and sharing that information. I agree also that it has something to do with Tuesday. I do not have Councilmember Taylor's cell phone. I wasn't able to text him. I tried that. I'm not opposed to excusing him tonight. I was just trying to share information. I agree. There's no harm in excusing somebody who is always here otherwise.
Okay, any other comments? Okay, we're voting on the motion to table. All in favor, say aye.
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 Any opposed?
No.
No.
I believe the motion carries. Okay. So that will be tabled until the next council meeting. Okay, moving on. Public comments. Deputy City Clerk, do you have any public comments to report tonight?
We do not have any public comments tonight.
Okay. Moving on to Finance Committee Chair Report, Catchman.
Good evening. Finance met tonight at 6 o'clock via Zoom. We took up almost the entire hour talking through budget items. Director Soul did add to the packet tonight some changes to consider. They're primarily adjustments as the city finalizes numbers. So I'll go over them just really quickly, but if you want additional detail, like I said, it is in the packet. First of all, Lobbying was listed in the incorrect department. It was in engineering and it's now in general government. So it's not an add to the budget or subtraction, just moving from one row to another row. The engineer 3 was not in the budget. So it's an add to the budget and that's in there now. A very small change for a uniform expense of $300 is being added to the budget. Let's see, beginning cash also changed in arterials due to grants that came in. So that's really good news as we go through the year. In the sewer fund, consultants had expected 5.783 million for wastewater treatment plan improvement loan and expenses, and that has been reduced down to a maximum of 656,000, excuse me. Also, there is information in there from the budget workshop regarding the EMS availability fee. The budget currently includes Chief Hubbard's recommendation, which is using 357,000 from reserves and a $4.09 monthly rate increase. So if council would like to look at other options and make adjustments to EMS, that will need to be either brought in this reading or in the third reading. So please keep that in mind because it does include the chief's recommendations at this time. And I also imagine council is still sizing up any changes that they want to make. So I recommend checking with department heads and especially Director Soul to review proposed changes prior to our next meeting so we can bring this in for final approval on 12/8 unless council plans to go later into the month to approve the budget. So that's everything for my report, and I move that we approve the expenditures and payroll.
Point of order, are you going to amend the budget? Because we already had the first reading. So you can't just add things to the budget. That's not how it works.
It's not added. It's more for informational.
You have to amend it because we already passed the first reading as it stood last time.
Director Soul, do you have a comment?
Yes, I'm not asking you to amend it. I'm listing the changes that we noted. So they will all be presented at the third reading for you to approve or disapprove. This is just information, so you're kept in the loop on changes as we catch them. We have not done any physical changes to the budget.
So
it's the same budget from the first reading. It's just these things need to be added and we'll add them at the third reading with any changes that council comes up with. So we're making changes once, not multiple times.
I'm not sure I understand. We can make number changes or include items all the way through to the third reading. If the council wants to add something into the budget,
you can amend each reading, but you can't just add things because we already voted on the first reading.
And nothing has been added.
We can't vote. I know. Patricia, I'm talking to the mayor right now.
Oh, sorry. Okay.
So we have to, if you're going to add things, if we're going to do it all at the third reading, that's fine. But yeah, it would have to be amended because we can't approve something. We already approved it.
Right, but you can make adjustments through to the third reading.
You can't just make adjustments as you go along.
So what I can do is make a motion to amend as presented in the packet for the second reading. And see what council's appetite is.
If you have a public hearing on the second reading and there's adjustments being made after the public hearing, you can change the numbers in there. I don't know what you're saying, Tony.
We voted on the budget last time. And you can't just say, oh, we just changed it, because now the second reading is different than the first reading. So if you're going to change it, we need to amend it and then we're accepting it as amended. Not-
yeah,
Yeah,
okay,
you can't just change things and then we're
Right.
voting on a second
No.
reading would change things.
I got it now, what you're trying to say.
But they said what
Thanks.
was in the packet is what we're being presented.
Yeah,
So that's what I'm
Thank
saying.
you. I get it now, what you're trying to say. Okay,
I apologize if I worded that in a confusing way, because I didn't mean that this is just how it is now. It will be amended if council chooses to accept the amendment as written.
okay. Deanne,
So my question for tonight is what our finance chair Cashman sharing, is that informational tonight and we'll be amending at the next meeting, or is there a motion tonight to amend the first reading?
I plan for it to be informational.
Thank you.
But what's in the packet is what's been changed, or it's the original budget? Because what we're voting on is what's in the packet. So what's in the packet?
The original budget is in the packet. The informational sheet is on top, and in the notation of that original sheet, it indicates these are changes we have noted but have not made. So we have not made any changes to the budget.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
okay,
All right.
all right.
Are we ready to, I'll make a motion, we approve expenditures and payroll.
Is there a second? Thank you. Motion was made and seconded to approve the expenditures and payrolls. Is there any discussion? More? Seeing none, this is a roll call vote, please.
A motion to approve accounts payable in the total amount of $655,488.30 and payroll in the total amount of $90,548.63. Check numbers 25323 through 25328 and 75322 through 75456. Roll call. Andrews,
Yes.
Ellis,
Yes.
Francie,
Yes.
Gordon,
Yes.
Kochman,
Yes.
Mackey,
Yes.
Meskis,
Yes,
Richrod,
Yes.
Ross,
Yes.
Shaw,
Yes.
Short.
Yes.
Mr. Mayor, motion is approved.
Thank you.
Next on the agenda under ordinances, we have the second reading and public hearing on Bill 21-10, an ordinance providing for levy in 2021 upon all taxable property within the city of Aberdeen for 2022 for all municipal purposes authorized by law and fixing the amount thereof pursuant to RCW 84.55.120. I move that we open the public hearing.
Second.
Motion was made and seconded to open the public hearing. Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
aye,
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. The public hearing is now open. City clerk, deputy clerk, was there any comments from the public on this hearing?
We had no written comments and there's no one currently in the audience with a hand raised.
Okay, thank you.
Hearing no comments, I move that we close the public hearing.
I second.
Motion was made and seconded to close the public hearing. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all in favor, say aye.
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 Any opposed? Motion carries. Public hearing is now closed.
Next, I move that we suspend the rules and consider the second reading the third and place bill number 21-10 in final passage.
Second.
Motion was made and seconded to suspend the rules and place this bill 2110 into final passage. Any discussion?
Why?
It has a, oh, go ahead.
No,
Kate.
you're saying the same thing I am.
It has a due date at the end of the month. And secondly, this is a pretty much a housekeeping measure. It's something we're required to update every single year. Councilmember Meskis.
I was just going to say also, there hasn't been any opposition. There hasn't been any public comment to oppose it. And it's usually our practice that if they're on the second reading, there's no major issues that come up that we suspend the rules. So I'm totally okay with it.
Thank you. Anyone else? Seeing none, all in favor of the motion, say aye.
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 Any opposed? The motion carries. The rules have been suspended.
I move we accept the third reading and place Bill 2110 in final passage.
Second.
Motion is made and seconded to approve the final reading of Bill 2110. Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor, say aye. Oh, wait, the third reading, it's a roll call vote. Thank you.
This is a roll call vote for the third and final reading of Bill number 2110. Andrews?
Yes.
Ellis?
Yes.
Francie?
Yes.
Gordon?
Yes.
Kochman?
Yes.
Mackey?
Yes.
Meskis?
Yes.
Rich Rod?
I want to stick with convention and say aye.
Ross? Oh, sorry, Debbie, you're muted.
Yes.
Thank you. Shaw?
Yes.
Short?
Yes.
That will be ordinance number 6676.
Thank you.
Thank you. And next under ordinances, we do have the second reading and public hearing on bill number 21-11, which is an ordinance adopting the 2022 annual budget for the city of Aberdeen, Grays Harbor County, state of Washington. I move that we open the public hearing.
Second.
Motion is made and seconded to open the public hearing. Is there any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
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 Any opposed? Motion passes. The public hearing is now open. City Clerk, is there any comments sent in on this issue?
We received no written comments.
Thank you.
Seeing that there's no written comments and nobody's hand is raised, I move that we close the public hearing.
Second.
Motion is made and seconded to close the public hearing. Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor, say aye.
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 Any opposed? Motion carries. Public hearing is now closed.
I move that we pass the second reading of bill 21-11.
Second.
Motion is made and seconded to approve this and pass the second reading of Bill 2111. Any discussion? Councilmember Meskis.
Thank you very much. I have two things I would like to discuss with council about the budget. The first being in account 125 for the museum, the registrar position was removed from the budget. This was a position that was requested by the museum board, and we actually allocated fund, and they're paying for it through their own fund that we transferred monies from the Armory insurance settlement for. So I don't see any reason why that should not be accounted for in the budget. So if anybody else sees any reason not to, please let me know. Otherwise, I'd like to make a motion to amend the budget.
I heard that. Sorry.
Okay,
Then I would like to make a motion to amend the budget to add the museum registrar position back under account 125.
You want to go through both of do you have two amendments? Just
I do have two. They're on two completely different things, so I can do them both right now if the council would prefer.
I say do them both, and
okay.
if somebody wants to kick one out, then let's.
All right, let's go ahead and do them both. So the second one is on the city administrator. We had talked about this during the last budget season and approved a position for a city administrator, and that's not in the current budget. And I truly believe that having a city administrator is going to be that glue that's going to really help tie our city together, and provide that extra person that's going to be able to be the liaison between our department heads and our lobbyists, and a lot of the other stuff that's going on that is really not the purview of the people that are actually doing what a city administrator should be doing right now. So the two things are, one, adding the museum registrar back into account number 125, and putting the city administrator position back into the budget. And I so moved.
Second.
motion is made and seconded to put the city administrator in the budget and put a museum registrar city employee in the budget. Is there any discussion? Councilmember Ross.
Councilmember Maskis, did you have specific amounts that you were thinking of in both of these proposals?
Well, we had actually requested at the last meeting that finance provide us with a reasonable amount for the city administrator position, and we have not heard anything back. I believe the museum registrar already had an amount assigned to it, and I think if we just go back to the previous budget, I wasn't able to get that number before the meeting tonight. I was really searching and trying to figure out what we had agreed on previously, but I'm pretty sure that number won't be too hard to find.
Councilmember Catchman.
This did come up in finance, Councilperson Meskis, and Finance Director Sol said it would be approximately, I believe, 400,000, give or take, for the city administrator, and it may include. We would also have to consider if we wanted an assistant for the city administrator, which commonly comes. So council would need to provide some direction on, do we want a city administrator and an assistant for that individual, or only the city administrator? And I think from there, some ballpark figures could be given.
And I believe Finance Director Sol's $400,000 number included the assistant.
Yes, I saw your eyebrows raised, and it's because it did include that. Thank you for clarifying. But I believe it was between 140 to 180 base for a city administrator plus fringe.
Councilmember Gordon.
Yeah, I agree that we need one, but myself personally, on this one item, I don't think we can afford it right now. I know it would take a big load off the mayor and make things smoother, but right now we're really tight money-wise, and I think we need to sit down and look where the money's going to be spent best. And for me personally, I just don't think we got the money for it.
Thank you. Councilmember Short you had your hand up.
Yes, and we just recently expanded the office of for the city parks and so on across the street because we don't have room in the main building. And adding 2 new positions and offices. That's going to be some more space that we're going to need somewhere. And I agree with Mr. Gordon.
Councilmember Rich Rod.
Well, in short, if we don't do this, we're not going to ever do it. We've been going to do this. It's been in and out of the budget several times. And the longer we wait, the more it's going to cost to fund this position. And yeah, it's expensive, but you have to realize the amount of money that comes back from the efficiencies that are afforded by having the administrator. And I just, if we're a first-class city, we're going to have to be able to do this. And I know, talking to you personally, Pete, you and I had talked about this, and we agree on this. And that was one of your campaign promises, was to work on getting a city administrator. And I just think that the longer we put it off, the worse it's going to get. And so I think we need to bite the bullet and do it. And from listening to the budget presentation of Rick Sanger, the Public Works Department saved them enough money to afford 2 administrators. So I think we can come up with it. So I think we really need to do this right away.
Thank you. Councilmember Catchman.
Yeah, I do agree that these should be priorities for the city. However, these are very expensive roles. We have salary studies that are out there right now and union contracts that are coming up in the future to be concerned about as well. And so I worry about hiring positions and then needing to look for money for our staff that is deserving of raises in the future. So I think we need to be looking at those and to earmark, potentially $300,000 or $400,000 in 2 new roles. That is a lot of money. And right now we have money that we can spend because of ARPA and reserves and all of that. But in the future, that might not be the case. And I would hate to bring on 2 new people at the expense of personnel in the future because that we wanted these roles right now. So that's where my primary concerns are, is looking 3-4 years ahead, not right now.
Councilmember Ross.
Excuse me, but Councilmember Andrews has had her hand up for quite some time, and you've passed her over like 4 or 5 times.
Thank you for bringing that to my attention, Councilmember Meskis. Councilmember Andrews, go ahead.
So my only thing was more so about the registrar with the city, the museum, that we did vote that in a couple of years ago, or the year before last, and then it was dropped out. So, I think that they need some help and direction. So that one, I do believe we need a city administrator, because I just don't think we're going to grow as a city without it. But it's my 2 cents.
Councilmember Ellis.
Thank you, Mayor. I'm pretty torn with both of these positions. I also see that there's a big need for them. And I particularly understand the benefit of having a city administrator with all of these high-level projects that the city's engaged in. Our former city engineer was juggling both his city engineer hat as well as coordinating with the lobbyists and all these other folks. And it seemed like if we'd had a city administrator, that it wouldn't have been quite so hard on some of our key director type people. And maybe we're more efficient at going out and getting grant money. I've heard a lot of comment lately that we can't go out after more grant money because we don't have the resources. Maybe having a city administrator frees up some of our other city staff to then do the other work that allows us to follow through with monitoring grants that we get. So I'd be inclined to support these, but I want to know where the money's going to come from. And that's kind of where the rubber hits the road. And I welcome your 2 cents on that. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilmember Ross.
I just wanted to say that I do support hiring a city administrator. I'm not sure we would need to hire an assistant at this point. I think just getting one person to help manage all the different balls in the air for the city would be extremely helpful. And I think it would help our city in a big, big way. And yes, I know the money is concerning, and I think we just need to take a really hard look at the budget and try to find a way to pay for that position.
Councilmember Richrod, your hand's still up.
Okay, there we go. Well, Councilmember Catchman was right that there are expenses coming up, but if we don't have a city administrator, would those expenses go away? And if we have a city administrator, would those expenses go away? I mean, they're going to happen anyway. And again, I want to reiterate the efficiencies that can be had by the city for a city administrator doing what a city administrator does, and they're expensive because it's a very unique and skill set, and it requires a lot of education, and it's not something that just anybody can do. Now, we've heard from the fire chief, and we heard from the director of public works, and we heard from Chris Koski before he left that we have the need for a city administrator. And I again say that we need to do this as soon as we can, right away, like this time, and get it over with. And it's not, the longer we put it off, the more it's going to cost to take up the slack when that happens. And so it's to put it in commercial terms, this is not just hiring somebody to sit in a chair. This is an investment, and that investment has a return, and the return comes back to the city in growth and in efficient management and economic development and all this other stuff that can happen with this. So I think we need to consider all of that.
Thank you. Councilmember Meskis, your hand is still up.
Thank you very much. Yes, I put it back up, and thank you for recognizing me. I just wanted to kind of comment on Councilmember Gordon's comments that yes, this will take some pressure off of the mayor. It also takes a huge amount of pressure off of our department heads and helps our city immensely. And I agree with Councilmember Ross that we just need the one position right now. I don't think we need to look at an assistant at this time. Yeah, the budget's tight. We're relying on some other funding to balance it in a very abnormal way, and that's not always correct. But part of this is that we don't have the right people in place to really make things work as smoothly as they could and as better as they could. And the city administrator position is one of those pieces to this massive puzzle. And like Councilmember Richard said, this is an investment. We're looking at investing our city's money wisely. And I believe this position is a really good investment to our future and making sure that, we can operate as efficiently as possible.
Thank you. Is there any other discussion? Council President Shaw.
One of the things that I keep hearing is, we can't afford it, but we're, kind of talking about that without the data. What I would really like to make is a data-driven decision. We have not actually seen the numbers. We've not actually seen it broken out, because this position would not be a total hit to the general fund. It would be apportioned out to different funds, and it would be of support to the utilities. And so I think of interest to us before we make a final decision is what is the hit to the general fund? But also, you know, we're at a point where we have the opportunity, you know, the mayor has the opportunity as the CEO to reimagine how we do things, because we have several high profile openings. We have an HR director vacancy, we have a city attorney vacancy, and we have an HR administrative assistant vacancy. So if we wanted to be creative and figure out, you know, different things, you know, I just feel like there's an opportunity to really look at this and make a more informed decision rather than, yeah, wouldn't it be nice, but they're expensive and we're Aberdeen and we can't afford it. Well, there's a lot of sentiment out there that we can't afford not to. We talk about not having the capacity to apply for grants because we're at the limit now. But we're on the verge of having an historical amount of money for communities to improve their infrastructure, but yet are we going to get left behind again because we didn't create the capacity to go after that money? So I just strongly encourage, I support any information coming to this council on what it would look like if we did that. And I encourage creativity by the mayor and his staff on how to use the flexibility we have now because of vacancies to reimagine how we're going to do business going into the future. And it just doesn't have to look the same as it has in the past, because maybe our city administrator is an HR expert and we have a high profile level HR mid-level executive that supports the city. I don't know what that might look like. I just feel like we need data and we need to be creative. And just saying we can't afford it isn't right now at this point, doesn't feel like a good answer.
Well, we just talked about this in finance committee. So to say we don't have any data, we're not getting any, we need to make a motion and force it into the budget. It is, you know better than that, Deanne, you were just there in that meeting.
Well, but I'm trying to bring.
Patricia Soul, the finance director, said in that meeting that she would get that information and data and we would work forward with that through the finance committee.
Mayor, what she said was if a motion passes the council, she would bring that to us. She said it's up to the council to ask her to do that. And so I'm just trying, the whole council wasn't privy to the finance committee discussion. And I was very clearly told that if I make a motion that she would bring that to us, but Councilmember Meskis made the motion before I could. And I'm just trying to share with the council that I fully support having the data to make a decision and have a real conversation so that the community knows that we've looked at this, because I think there's sentiment in the community as well that we could take a step forward on how we manage ourselves.
Councilmember Rich Rod, you have your hand up again.
Oh, well, I was just going to ask if there's data, is there a sheet of data coming to us?
Not unless we ask for it.
Okay, and it's going to come then in that case to the finance committee or to all of it? Because I agree that
Finance Director Soul.
I would like to see it written out.
I can send it to all council members and get you the information. If you want it added into the budget, Council Member Meskis has already started that process. So if council wants the data as well as it to be on the third reading, just need to vote that you want it on the third reading and it'll be in the expenses as an amendment to the second reading.
Right.
Council Member Francie.
Hi, can we split this into two different issues? One the registrar and one the administrator?
I would support an amendment to the amendment.
So moved.
Okay. Motion is made and seconded to amend the amendment that the items be separated. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
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 Any opposed? Okay, the ayes have it. The items will be separated. Is there any further discussion? Okay, the museum registrar item. Councilmember Shaw.
I think that there would be no harm in doing nothing about the museum registrar right now, because they are proposing to pay from their dedicated funds, their share of the collection settlement. So it's not like it's going to be a hit to the general fund cash reserves if we agree to go forward with that. So if we decide to just leave that for now and let the museum, percolate on that, I think they've got some discussions to do. But honestly, the money is there for that. If they come to us and we want to do it, it's we don't never. It's their collection fund.
Any other discussion? All in favor, say aye.
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 Any opposed?
Aye.
Nay.
No.
City Deputy Clerk, could we have a roll call vote, please?
So just
What is
confirming
it we're
this is
voting on?
roll call vote for the amendment to add a museum registrar back into the second reading of the proposed budget.
So just to be clear, a no vote means that we are not adding the registrar back in, correct?
That's right.
Correct.
Okay.
Andrews,
Yes.
Ellis,
No.
Francie,
Yes.
Gordon,
No.
Kochman,
No.
Mackey,
Yes.
Meskis,
Yes.
Richrod,
No.
Ross,
No.
Shaw,
No.
Short.
No.
That fails 4-7, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. The next item is the city administrator position.
Mayor, I request this be a roll call vote as well.
Yes, you may. Thank you.
Is this to add a city administrator or to get the data so that we can make a decision during the third reading?
The motion was to add a city administrator back into the agenda.
Thank you.
Any other discussion? Councilmember Ellis.
I'd like to amend the motion so that at this time it's a request for the data to add an administrator position.
Second.
Motion is made and seconded to amend the motion to make it so that it's just to request the data for city administrator expense. Is there any discussion? Councilmember Ross.
Just for clarification, you're suggesting we're not going to actually amend the budget at this point. We're just going to ask for the data for what it would cost to
That's
add the
correct.
city administrator position. Okay.
That's correct.
Thank you. Thank you.
Is there any further discussion? Councilmember Catchman.
I'm fine asking for data, but I feel like it's something that Director Soul can probably give over the phone right now, unless we're going to do a whole salary study.
I don't know. Is there any further discussion?
Sure.
Councilmember Ellis.
I think what I would, I'd be looking for from Director Soul would be a bit more than just here's a total, but here's how this position would impact the other departments and where the funding, initial funding will come from and what's the hit to the general fund.
Thank you.
That makes sense.
Any other discussion? Okay, the vote is to request detailed information on what it would cost to hire a city administrator. All those in favor say, oh, as a roll call vote was asked for, so roll call vote, please.
This is a roll call vote for detailed data on adding a city administrator to the 2022 budget. Andrews?
Point of clarification. So we're voting on amending the original. We're not, this isn't an actual vote. We're just voting if we want to amend the original.
Correct. Amend
Yes.
the amendment to the amended motion.
Yes.
Okay. Andrews?
Yes.
Thank you. Ellis?
Yes.
Brancy?
Yes.
Gordon?
Yes.
Kochman?
Yes, why not?
Mackey?
Yes.
Meskis?
Yes.
Richrod?
Yes.
Ross?
Yes.
Shaw?
Yes.
Short?
Yes.
That's 11-0, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you.
All right.
So where are we at now with this? I'm lost.
I do not believe that we have passed the second reading. If anyone disagrees, will you please let me know?
So far, we.
I think we have to pass the second reading as amended. Because we had amendments, so we still have to pass it as amended.
Yeah.
Thank you. Okay, so I would make a motion that we pass the second reading of Bill 21-11 as amended.
Second.
Motion was made and seconded to pass the second reading of 21-11 as amended. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all in favor say aye.
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 Any opposed? Motion carries. The second reading has passed.
Okay, last thing for finance, I promise. We have the first reading of Bill number 21-12, which is an ordinance adopting a supplemental budget to change the 2021 appropriations and expenditures as specified herein. I move that we accept the first reading.
Second.
Motion was made and seconded to approve of the first reading of Bill 21-12. Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor say aye.
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 Any opposed? Motion carries. The bill is passed.
That's all from finance.
Thank you. I need to back up. Yeah, refreshing. I need to back up and because I missed item 4, additions or deletions. Were there any additions or deletions to the agenda? Councilmember Ross.
Yes, I need to add to the agenda under public safety before we vote on the joint resolution for the Regional Fire Authority. I need to add an amendment to the plan, the RFA plan. And I'd like to do it before we vote on the joint resolution, please.
Okay, this item is, there's a request to add an item to the agenda. Is there a second?
Second.
Motion was made and seconded to add an item to public safety, amending the plan, the RFA plan, so that it matches the resolution, and it's the date. The RFA plan still says July
It
2020.
says July 1.
It's only 8:30.
And it needs to say January 1st,
Are you
2020.
in bed?
Yes.
Eh?
Okay.
Okay. Any other discussion? Hearing none, all in favor of the addition, say aye.
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 Any opposed? Motion carries. That will be added into public safety prior to resolutions item 1. Okay, thank you. Moving on now to Public Works. Councilmember Meske.
Thank you very much. Public Works met yesterday about 4:30. We got a little late start, had some technical hiccups, which is always fun in this day and age of Zoom and remote meetings, but we made it through. Pretty quick meeting because we have a shorter agenda than normal. So we'll go ahead and get right into it. First, we have a report from Public Works and the Public Works Director recommending that the City Council shall authorize the mayor to amend the agreement with HDR Engineering for professional services related to the Fry Creek Pump Station. I move we adopt this report.
Second.
Motion was made and seconded to adopt this report. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor say aye.
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 Any opposed? The motion carries.
Okay. And next we have a report from Public Works and the Public Works Director recommending that the City Council shall pass a resolution setting the date for a public hearing for ecology funding for the Wwtp and Fluent screening and conveyance project. I move we adopt this report.
Second.
Motion was made, seconded to adopt this report. Is there any discussion? Under discussion, Councilmember Meske.
Thank you. Just under discussion, you've probably seen this come through a couple of times. We had to bring this back through because the date on the last report was wrong for the City Council meeting. It still had tomorrow's date, not today's date. So they just had to update the date and move along with it.
Okay, thank you. Any other discussion? Seeing none, all in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
Okay, and with that, we have a resolution setting the date for a public hearing on the proposed application to the Washington State Department of Ecology for construction funding for the Wwtp and Fluent screening and conveyance improvements project. I move we adopt this resolution.
Second.
Motion is made, seconded to adopt the resolution. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. The resolution is adopted.
This will be resolution number 2021-24.
All right, and last under ordinances, we have the third reading and adoption of bill number 21-09, an ordinance vacating portions of the unopened street right-of-ways in the Broadway addition to Cosmopolis, consisting of the Polk Street half abutting lots 1 through 6 of Block 5, the Polk Street half abutting lots 1 through 3 of Block 8, the Lee Street half abutting Block 5, the Lee Street half abutting Block 6, the Lee Street half abutting Block 7, the Lee Street half abutting Block 1 of Block 8, and the full alley within Block 7. I move we adopt this ordinance.
Second.
Motion is made and seconded to adopt this ordinance. Is there any discussion? It's a mouthful. I'm sure you're glad it's a third reading.
So we'll be happy to not have to read it again.
Okay, seeing no other discussion, roll call vote, please.
Roll call vote for third reading of bill 21-09. Andrews,
Yes.
Ellis,
Yes.
Francie,
Yes.
Gordon,
Yes.
Kochman,
Yes.
Mackey,
Yes.
Meskis,
Yes.
Rich Rod,
Aye.
Ross,
Yes.
Shaw,
Yes.
Short.
Yes.
That's 11-0 in favor, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. The ordinance is passed.
And that is all from Public Works.
Thank you.
And this will be
Pub-
ordinance 6677.
Oh, thank you. 6677. Public Safety Committee Chair report from Councilmember Andrews.
So the public safety met this evening at 6:30. We had a whole rousing 10-minute meeting. So I'll keep this short. So the only thing on the police side, they wanted to let us know about the hiring of Josh Mullins, who's a former Washington State Patrol employee who came to us. So he's on the road now. And over on the fire department side, as we've all discussed, the RFA did fall a little bit short. It only fell 14 votes short. And that was, we're not really sure why, but they think they need to get out, do a little more door knocking this time, make sure everybody understands. Hopefully, I'm also had an EMS, a different item on the voter ballot at the same time. So there could have been some confusion there. We're not sure. But every vote counts. I've said that I don't know how many times since I won my first election at only 9 votes. So people don't realize how much your vote counts. But and also they responded with mutual aid to a fire in Kazi this morning. Some of you may have heard about it. They did contain it in an upstairs bedroom. The occupant did climb to the roof. But Kazi, they had only two people from Kazi report to the fire, and those people helped the occupant down off the roof with their ladder. And then Aberdeen showed up and helped them put the fire out. So mutual aid, we're everywhere. Aberdeen, Hoquiam, Cosmopolis. But all right, so let's just move along to the old agenda. So the first I'd like to, as we just added to the agenda, a motion to amend the original RFA start date from July 1st, 2022 to January 1st, 2023. I move we make this amendment.
Second.
Motion is made and seconded to amend the original plan. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. The original plan is amended to include the updated date. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, and then we have a resolution. We have a joint resolution of the City Council of the City of Hoquiam and the City Council of the City of Aberdeen, providing for the submission to qualified electors of Hoquiam and Aberdeen at the special election to be held February 8th, 2022 of a proposition that pursuant to chapter 52.26 of the revised code of Washington approves a plan to form a regional fire protection service authority within the boundaries of Hoquiam and Aberdeen, effective January 1st, 2023, and providing for other matters properly related thereto. I move we pass this resolution.
Second.
Motion is made and seconded to adopt this resolution. Is there any discussion? Councilmember Ellis.
Yeah, does anybody know if the required vote, if this goes back to the voters, does the percentage or the minimum required votes change? Or is it still going to be, we need at least 6,000 votes and a certain percentage? Does anybody know that?
It's 60% of the voters. And so it's 60% of Aberdeen and Hoquiam combined. So if you notice the results, Aberdeen passed it, but Hoquiam did not. So it has to be, if Aberdeen's number would have been great enough to overcome what Hoquiam, then we could have passed it. I mean, it was 59.6% when you add the two together. So as long as enough voters that are in support actually vote, then, it's 60% of who votes, it's who votes. So if you don't vote, you're not counted in that 60%.
So if 100 people vote and 60% of that 100 vote, it would pass.
correct, right?
It's not
necessarily.
I
six.
don't think so.
No,
Not
Tom,
necessarily.
where's Tom?
You have to meet the voter turnout requirement.
Yep.
Yeah.
In a spring election, you have a voter turnout requirement, and I think, and so, but I don't know that this discussion determines whether we put it forward or not. We can get the answer to that.
Yeah.
But we have to, there is both a voter turnout requirement, and of that voter turnout, you need to have 60% overall from both cities.
Right. Yeah.
Councilmember Meskis.
Thank you very much. I just want to emphasize how important the RFA really is. I mean, without this, our EMS and our fire services are going to suffer. And I can tell you for one that, you know, just that a house just down the street from where I live caught fire. And it was really reassuring to know that our fire department had the response time that they have, because they were able to come through. We didn't even know they came through because they didn't even have their sirens on through town. And they got that thing dealt with, they got it put out. And without this, we're gonna have to figure out how we're paying for other things. And with the RFA, we're gonna have a much stronger EMS system. So I really want to encourage people, get out there and vote for this and make this happen, because we need this. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other discussion? Councilmember Katzman?
Yeah, I think you guys are all aware of my reservations in the past, but I just want to say that I am going to support this tonight because I believe that it is at this point in the hands of the voters. But I did want to ask if there is a cost to the city of Aberdeen to put this on the ballot. And I apologize for not asking this in advance if it requires research, but a guesstimate is fine, or just a simple yes or no if we can't guesstimate.
It does cost us. Patricia, do you have any idea what the number is?
I will tell you that Chief Hubbard reached out to Corey, who was helping us with the RFA, and she didn't have a number.
I would have to reach out to the county, which I would be happy to find out and get back to you.
But it's not cheap, and it does cost us.
And that did come up at our workshop, that if we put it out again, let's budget for it so we don't have to supplemental it.
And the chief indicated that he does have a small portion in his budget for RFA costs, but he's not sure that what he has currently budgeted is enough to cover it.
Okay.
Because he was going to look into that information. That was asked at our committee meeting.
So if we do have an answer in a couple weeks, can we bring that forth to add it to the budget?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
If there is a difference or any additional money.
Yes.
All right.
Any other discussion? Okay. All in favor of the resolution, say aye.
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 Any opposed? Motion carries. The resolution is adopted. We'll join this with Hoquiam's resolution and get it to the county. I believe by next week.
And this will be resolution number 2021-25.
And that's it from public safety.
Thank you. Any special agenda items from anybody? I have an appointment. I would like to appoint Linda Orgel to the Library Advisory Board.
So moved.
Second.
Thank you. Motion is made and seconded to approve of Linda Orgel to the Library Advisory Board. Any discussion? Councilmember Ellis.
That she would like her name to be pronounced Linda Orgel, I believe.
Thank you. Thank you. Any other discussion?
And she'll be great.
Okay. All in favor, say aye.
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 Any opposed? Motion carries. Now it's moving on to City Council comment period. Anybody? Councilmember Meskis.
Thank you very much. I'll keep this really brief. I just wanted to, thank my fellow council members for having, really good, meaningful discussions on items. Sometimes that discussion is not easy, but I really appreciate all the hard work and thoughts that everybody puts into their comments and into, making their voices heard. And I really appreciate it. It helps me make more informed decisions. So I look forward to, always, having great, wonderful conversations on items in the future. So have a great night.
Thank you. Anyone else? Oh, Councilmember Ellis. Oh, I see
Thank
it.
you, Mayor. I wanted to thank Director Solf and all the staff and the Finance Committee and our mayor for doing a heck of a lot of work on this budget. A lot of pieces to juggle and getting them to fit into place and providing us with lots of good information. It's gotten me thinking just bigger picture, longer term. How can we, where can we start to save some money so that we're not every budget year we're scrambling for those dollars to cover our expenditures. And I would also like us to look into starting to have a 2-year budget cycle rather than just 1 year. I think it would really help us make better long-term decisions. And it would be a good use of our time. And I think longer term, there are a number of other changes for us to consider. And if we did get a city administrator on board, then that would be part of their job to help us transition through some of those perhaps other changes, such as Aberdeen seems to be the only city, especially small city, with 12 council members. And maybe we should look at reducing our numbers down to 6. And I think there would also be more efficiencies to be gained by doing more partnerships with our adjoining city neighbors. This RFA is a good starting place. We're already sharing the police social worker person and to look for ways in which we can share staff like that and other resources, I think makes a lot of sense. So it's been a real interesting budget process so far. And I look forward to getting this one sorted out. Thank you.
Thank you. Go ahead, Tawny.
So I noticed that with the election being, I don't know, was it finalized today?
Yes.
But so we do have some new council members coming on. So I know that there is a AWC, the workshop, which is escaping my mind, the basics, the essentials for elected officials.
That's
that
it.
one is coming up soon. So I hope somebody can reach out to the new, to the incoming to make sure that they're offered the chance to go to that. Because that was way informative when I first became a council member that talks about all of the ethics and everything else.
It's December 4th and it's been done.
Yes. Okay. All right. That was just checking.
No, thank you. Thank you very much for bringing that up.
And my other thing is we were talking about the minimum for the vote, and I Googled it, or I looked it up, and it is for the super majority of 60%, it's 40%, at least 40% of the last general election. So that's the minimum.
And I understand we failed miserably in that area.
Well, unfortunately, I wish we did have a better voter turnout in our area, but I don't know. I mean, it's all by mail and you don't even have to pay for a stamp anymore. But I digress. All right, that's it. That's it for me.
Thank you. So just for your information, unless I'm missing this, got it wrong here. Budgets and numbers and how they're organized is, well, let me put it this way. I got a C in accounting class. So we had $5,000 budgeted for the election, and we used just over 4,000 of that. So.
And the chief mentioned that he had 5,000 in this year's budget.
So we have like $813 or something left in that budget, and plus whatever the chief's got, or what, but yeah, they're not real cheap, and that's what we put into it. So anybody else on the council have any comments? Okay, you guys all have a great Thanksgiving. Hope you have lots of good yummies.
You too, Mayor, and I move we adjourn the meeting.
Second.
Motion was made and seconded to adjourn the meeting.
Good night, everybody.
If there's
Good
no
night.